Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. हरे कृष्णा। सब लोग कीर्तन में भाग लीजिए और सभी भक्तों से प्रार्थना है थोड़ा आगे 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 बैठिए ताकि पीछे जो भक्त आएंगे उनके लिए जगह बनी रहे। हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे राम, राम राम, हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे राम, हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे राम, राम राम, हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे राम, हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे राम, राम राम, हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे राम, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय.
I'm fine with Hindi. Hare Krishna. Am I audible to
How
everyone?
many of you don't understand Hindi? Please raise your hands. You don't understand Hindi. మీకు హిందీ అర్థం కాదు అస్సలు. So, how many of you don't understand English? English कितने जनों को समझ में नहीं आता है? ఎంతమందికి ఇంగ్లీష్ అస్సలు అర్థం కాదు? Comparatively, English is preferable. It looks like.
Okay. Okay, so then you will do translation for them.
So those who don't understand English, ఎవరికైతే ఇంగ్లీష్ అర్థం కాదో, जिसको समझ में नहीं आता है इंग्लिश, थोड़ा पीछे आ जाइए. हम आपको ट्रांसलेशन का सुविधा है रहेगा पीछे. हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन बट्टू गोपाल प्रभु, हिज ग्रेस बट्टू गोपाल प्रभु हिंदी का ट्रांसलेशन करेंगे आपको. पीछे उस तरफ आ जाइए. जो भी हिंदी में सुनना चाहते हैं प्रभु जी का प्रवचन, उस तरफ आ जाइए. Thank you. So after a year almost, again we are having the association of His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu here. We would like to welcome Prabhuji by loudly chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So many of us have an idea that Prabhuji's classes are scientific, but if you observe deeply, Prabhuji's classes are more of devotional, core to the core. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. We welcome you too.
Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। नमा ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। My dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can understand your love for us and feel inspired to offer our love to you. Hare Krishna. Vishal Prabhu, can you distribute the prayers book? So I will be discussing something based on a new book on the Bhagavad Gita that I have written. So we'll be giving copies of the book to you so that you can read something from it. I'll also be displaying it over here. So this is prayers. Is it visible to everyone? Okay, so this is prayers inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. So in this book I have taken the verses from the Bhagavad Gita and have seen them as, try to explore them not just as sources of wisdom but also as inspirations for prayer. The Bhagavad Gita is, Krishna is not just a guru, Krishna is also our Aradhya Bhagwan. Krishna is the object of love for us. And Kulashekar Maharaj has composed prayers which are often inspirations from the Bhagavad Gita. So one of his prayers is Uddhar tumarisi hare purushottamosmi. My dear Lord, please elevate me from this material existence. But that seems to be very similar to the Krishna's prayer, Krishna's declaration. Tesham aham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat. I will lift you from this material existence. So the theme that we will discuss today based on this particular verse from the Bhagavad Gita. This is 343, the last verse of the 3rd chapter. So here in each of these prayers I have got a beautiful picture of a deity of Krishna from various parts of the world. And then there's one sentence summary prayer which is like a spiritual affirmation. Then there's a translation of the Gita verse in English poetry. And then there is a reflection based on that which is like a prayer, which is basically a prayer to the Lord. So we will read this together and I'll request, do we have a second mic by any chance? I'll request some Vaishnavas and some Vaishnavis to read one paragraph and we'll discuss based on that. So the broad topic I am going to discuss today is that why do sometimes good people do bad things? So is it that this is in some ways a continuation of the morning class I had, but it's a distinct class. And that how much do our conditionings control us? That when good people end up doing bad things, why does that happen? So sometimes we may be in the community of devotees and suddenly some devotee may do something terrible. The devotee may have even a moral fall down, or a devotee may behave in a, not a fall down, a devotee may behave in a way which is very objectionable. It can disturb our faith. How can a devotee do something like this? And not just other devotees, sometimes we ourselves may do certain things which may shake us. You know, am I even practicing bhakti? Does the process of bhakti even work? Will it work for me? So these kind of questions come up. So that's the topic we'll discuss today. That is why good people do bad things. Why do good people do bad things? We often ask the opposite question, that why do bad things happen to good people? And that is an important question. But that is actually, in many ways, from a philosophical perspective, that's an important question. Connected, okay. So, take out the other simpler one. This is one. The other one. This is working. Okay, try it out. Sorry about the delay. How many of you have a copy of the book? We don't have enough for everyone. But how many of you got a copy of book to read through? Okay, we can start without this. Wait a minute, sorry. Okay. Thank you. So you can repeat after me. My dear Lord, help me reclaim the power of desire and direct it toward you. So the idea is desire is not a bad thing. Desire is a power. It's a gift given by Krishna to us. But we want to direct it towards Krishna. So you can repeat this verse after me if it is possible. Evam buddhe param buddhva samsthabhyatmanamatmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasadam.
Kamarupam durasadam.
Know with your intelligence that the soul is transcendental. Situate your consciousness steadily on the level that is spiritual. Conquer, O mighty armed one, this fearsome foe in the form of desire, so deadly, so difficult to overthrow. Bhagavad Gita 3:43. So, who would like to read the first paragraph? Anyone have a mic? Yes. Who has a mic? Is there a mic? Yeah, please.
My dear Lord, desire is a formidable force within me that can be used for both good and bad. Presently, this force has largely been conscripted by materialism and is being used in the ways that take me away from my spiritual nature, even from the awareness of my spiritual nature.
Yes, thank you. So, generally, when we talk about spiritual life, often we're told we have to give up our desires. Desires are enemies. And yes, that is true, but that is not the complete truth. Basically, if we are to consider desire management, so broadly, there are two extremes. One is if there is too much desire. So right now, I don't want to differentiate between material and spiritual desires because it's not so easy to understand which desire is material and which desire is spiritual. Let's first understand the principle of desire itself. Too much desire, if it is there, it can lead to attachment and eventually to addiction. So addiction essentially means what? One thing becomes more important than everything else. And then all other things get disrupted or even destroyed because of that. So too much desire leads to addiction. This is Rajoguna. But sometimes we may go to the other extreme and there can be too little desire. And if there is too little desire, that actually leads to depression. That is the typical characteristic of Tamoguna. That generally speaking, depression can be a complex phenomena, but one of the characteristics is that a depressed person doesn't feel like doing anything. Why have a job? Why have a family? Why even get out of bed? Why do anything? At the ultimate level, why even live? And then a person may even want to end one's life. So not having desires is not necessarily a good thing. So when we want to balance the desires, there are two things essential within desire management. That is, that when not too much desire, not too little desire, then what is the balance? Over there is that desire needs to be selected, and then desire needs to be directed. I'll explain what this means. Selected and directed. So broadly, selection of desire happens through sattva guna, and the direction of desire best happens through bhakti. So desire needs to be selected and directed. Let's try to understand this a little more clearly. That when we consider desire, or we consider plural desires, the thing is that desires have two characteristics broadly. That desires they are, in one sense, we could say desires are unlimited, but that's not a very helpful description of it. So desires are multifarious. Multifarious means we have many desires, and desires are also multi-level. Multifarious means we may have 100 desires, 1,000 desires, and multi-level means that there are some desires which are more surface desires, some desires which are deeper desires. So multifarious desires means, say, nowadays the whole advertising industry can be called as a desire producing industry, isn't it? So if we consider somebody wants to, okay, I want to wear different kinds of clothes. So how many desires do you have? Well, as many attractive clothes you see, I want to try that out. I want to try that out. So desires can be many. It can be not just for clothes. It can be for your hairstyle. It can be phone. It can be glasses. It can be kind of house I want to have. What kind of car I want to have. It can be so many desires. So even in material life, suppose somebody is not even a devotee, even people who are materialistic cannot fulfill all their desires. So everybody has to select their desires. Which desire am I going to fulfill? So if somebody decides, okay, I want to go and live in America. Okay, if you want to go and live in America, then you cannot go and live in Australia. You cannot go and live in, say, Switzerland. So may want to go abroad, but abroad also there's so much variety. So basically, selection of desires is required. Now, this selection, sattvat sanjayate jnanam, Krishna says. In sattva, we get jnana. So what happens is that when we are talking about selection of desires, this selection is broadly done through buddhi. Buddhi is intelligence, and intelligence has a particular function. Srila Prabhupada defines intelligence as to see things in their proper perspective. See things in their proper perspective. What does proper perspective mean? That we see things according to what is how important. So in our life, because there are some things which are big, there are big things, and there are small things. So for us, buddhi is what enables us to understand which are the big things, which are the small things. Say suppose we take a selfie photo with a group of people. Now whoever is taking the selfie, that person comes very big and others come small. Now if we look at a photo, we don't look, maybe if our face looks too big or we don't like that, okay, let's call somebody else and let them take the photo. Why? Because that photo is not in proper perspective. So proper perspective means what is more important, what is bigger should be bigger, what is smaller should be smaller. That's proper perspective. So in our life, there are small things and there are big things. And whatever is a small thing, relatively speaking, with the buddhi, when we understand that this is a big thing, this is a small thing. So for the big things, our desire should be selected. For the small things, the desire should be deselected, should be rejected. Say, for example, if now you have come for a program over here, you want to hear this class. Now, this is a big thing. Now, so then, now you would like to have a comfortable place to sit. You don't want to have back pain. You don't have to have thigh pain when you're sitting. So, if some of you need a chair, there's facility for chairs. But somebody says that, okay, I want not just a chair, I want like a comfortable, easy massage chair. There are these chairs which automatically massage your body. If you go to some physiotherapy or somewhere, they have these chairs. I want that kind of chair. And if that kind of chair is not there, then I will not come for a program. Then what is happening? Okay, there is a time, if you need that chair, you can have that at your home. So that is not the big thing right now. So there is a big thing and a small thing. So generally, desires for the big thing should be bigger. Desire for the smaller things should be smaller. Like say, if a student goes to college. Now they may say, college is the time, I'm young, and now I'm healthy, I'm energetic. I want to have some fun in my life. Okay, you want to make friends, you want to have some fun. That's okay. It's not that college life has to be miserable. But college is not primarily for having fun. College is primarily for studying, for learning, for developing skills by which we can have a brighter career ahead of us. So the desire for relatively studying is a big thing. Having some fun is a small thing. So the desire for the big thing should be stronger. The desire for the small thing should be smaller. So buddhi is what first enables us to understand what is a big thing and what is a small thing. To elaborate on this point, see, when we talk about big things, this is the concept of Artha. Artha means that which is of value. It can refer to money, but it can refer to anything of value. But there are many things which could be of value for us. For example, we all need money for living. Money is of value. When we are living in a community, we want some respect. Nobody likes to be disrespected. Nobody likes to be criticized constantly. So we need some amount of respectability. We need some health. So all these are Artha. Now, the various Arthas, they can fall in a hierarchy. There is, at the top, there is Paramartha. Let me put it another way, that we could put it that Arthas can be, so Arthas can be in a hierarchy. That we have many Arthas in our life. So at a basic level, we need food to survive. We need air, water, like basic necessities of life are there. So without that, that is the basic Artha. Without which once we have food, then maybe we want some comfort, we want some conveniences, then we want some other things in our life. Okay, I want a family, I want friends, I want respect in society, I want to do something, various things. So there are many Arthas in life. And the top of it is Paramartha. So Paramartha is the topmost Artha, and that is ultimately Krishna. That is ultimately attaining Krishna. So with our buddhi, we understand what is Artha and what is Paramartha, or which Artha is how important. Which Artha is how important we understand through buddhi. And once we understand this, let's take one more concept and I will illustrate this with some stories. See, when any Artha becomes the Paramartha, there is Paramartha is Krishna, but when any Artha becomes the Paramartha, that leads to Anartha. So if you forget everything from this class, you can remember this one thing. When an Artha becomes the Paramartha, it leads to Anartha. So for example, consider money. Money is important. We cannot live without money. But when money becomes the paramartha, we are not living, we need money to live. But people live to get money. So money, we are meant to live with money, not live for money. When money, which is artha, becomes the paramartha, that leads to greed. So if money becomes the, what does Krishna say in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita? Kamopabhoga parama etavaditi nishchita. So when money becomes the supreme value of our life, when money becomes the supreme value of our life, that leads to greed. Now we all need a certain level of respect in our life. But when respect becomes the supreme value, that, let's put it as, I just put a P, Paramartha. It's not personal assistant. It is Paramartha. So then it becomes what? Ego. It becomes pride. It becomes arrogance. So respect is important, but when that becomes the only thing that is important for us, now we all need a certain level of control in our life. So say right now you're sitting and hearing this class. If the person next to you is constantly talking on phone, you will not be able to focus on the class. You will tell the person, if you want to talk on phone, can you please go out, or here, please put your phone on silence. So we need a certain control. But when the control becomes the paramartha, that leads to anger. When I am not able to control things, then I forget everything and I will do anything and everything to gain that control. That leads to the anartha of anger. So like that, anarthas are what? When something is of less value, we make it of more value or even supreme value. So that is anartha. So when we are talking about good people doing bad things, that was our topic. And I said that when we act in life, we have desires. We want, the first thing we need is, desire needs to be selected. So which desire to give how much value? If a smaller desire is given too much value, then that will lead to anartha. So with this context, let's look at the Mahabharata, the story of Karna. See, generally speaking, we have good people. I think did I write this over here? Yeah, our topic was good people doing bad things. So generally speaking, we have good people who do good things, and we may have bad people who do bad things. So good people do good things. So generally we can consider the Pandavas over here. Now here we may consider Duryodhan. So bad people do bad things. So today morning the topic I was discussed was, do bad people have to do bad things? Can bad people change? So now today what I'll be discussing is that when good people do bad things, so why does this happen? Where do things go wrong? So when good people do bad things, so they're not good, they're not bad people, they are overall good people. So I will put Karna in this category, broadly speaking. Now he is a good person, he ended up doing bad things. Now we will also discuss, did Arjuna also do a bad thing when he killed Karna finally? So are the Pandavas also did some bad things in the final war? So is there any difference between the two? So we will discuss a related question, that when a good person does a bad thing, is that bad thing to be seen as an exception? Is that bad thing out of character for the person because the situation required it? Or is that bad thing actually a reflection of the character of the person? Has that person become like that? So when bad actions are done by someone, bad actions, are they an exception to the character of the person, or are they a reflection of the character of the person? This is how the person actually is, and if they're hiding it for so long, so if somebody is normally very gentle and polite, and one day that person becomes wildly angry and start yelling and screaming, so is it that that person was actually a very angry person and was controlling it all this time, and so this now the mask has fallen and now the real person is revealed, or is it that this is an exception? Now that's a valid question, so we'll explore that. So broadly, when bad actions are done, that you see the Pandavas also do some bad things, but they fall in this category. It's an exception, and when that exception is done, now we can also go further and ask whether it is a bad thing. I won't go in that direction right now. Now is a reflection of the bad thing, we will see. Now Duryodhan will fall in this category. Now Karna falls somewhere in between. We'll discuss how this is. If we look at the story of Karna, see, in our life, many incidents happen. Say, if somebody decided to video record every moment of their day, from the moment they woke up till the moment they slept, and record all the things that you will sleeping also, how you move in the bed, what you do. Now, if we did this for one day, and somebody told you, okay, next day you sit and watch this for the next 24 hours, we'll get bored within 5-10 minutes, isn't it? See, life, general, everyday incidents are not that interesting. We could say every choice is important, but some choices and some decisions are far more important than others. They are far more consequential than others. So we look at that way Karna's life and what kind of situations he faced, and how he responded to those situations. And Karna is often seen as a person for whom life treated him very unfairly, and somehow he tried to make good out of a very bad situation, but still ultimately he was doomed by situations. So now let's see how true that is, and for reference we will compare Karna's life with Arjuna's life. Now this itself could be a very long session, so I won't go over all of it. I'll focus on some key points. Now Karna, we could say something bad happened to him right at birth. What is the bad thing that happened? He was abandoned. So we could say in the childhood, he was abandoned by his mother. That was something bad happened to him. Now what about Arjuna? Something bad happened to him also. What is the bad? His father died, isn't it? So, death of father. Now after this, if we consider, further bad things happened to Arjuna. Now, Bhima was attempted to be killed. Then their entire family was attempted to be killed. So there is persecution in his childhood. Is the red color visible clearly? Okay. So now there is no such description about Karna's childhood. Yes, he was abandoned by his mother, by his birth mother, but he was adopted by a fairly good family. Yeah, he was not adopted by a Kshatriya family, so we could say he did not get a Kshatriya kind of respect. But Suta is not a very low caste. It was not that Karna lived in utter poverty, struggling for food. And there is no description that anybody tried to kill him in his childhood. He had both his parents. So we could say that, yes, one bad thing happened in the start of his life, but after that, a number of good things happened. Now, both Arjuna, so we could say that, say what comes from above is what happened to us. I'll put it as what comes from below is what is done by us. So now both Arjuna and Karna, they learned archery. The circumstances were different, but both of them learned archery. And that was a good thing that they did. So now we could say Karna had a little more difficulty in learning archery because he was not admitted in the Gurukul of Dronacharya, and eventually he had to lie to Parshuram. That is all true, but still he learned archery. And both of them had talent, and both of them worked hard. And both of them became great archers. Now, after that, there is the stroke of good fortune that came for both of them. They learned archery, and then now whether something is good or bad, sometimes the result tells us whether it's good or bad. But he got the Duryodhana's friendship. Now, we could say that is a bad thing because Duryodhana is a bad person. But at that time, it just changed his life. Isn't it? Like say somebody is a talented cricket player, but that player is playing in some town club somewhere. And some national selector sees him, spots him and selects him in the national team. That fortune is changed for him. So like that, now this was a good thing that happened, but it was also by his archery skills. It was by his expert archery, he impressed Duryodhana. Now for the Pandavas, the good thing that happened was that the Draupadi's Swayamvar. There two things happened. Arjuna, by his expert archery, he won the hand of Draupadi, and by that the Pandavas were no longer practical orphans being persecuted by their family. Now they were relatives, sons-in-law of a powerful rival king. And that is the time they also met Krishna. And Krishna also actively started coming in their life. So both from a material and a spiritual perspective, we can say Drupada, the relationship with Drupada and the relationship with Krishna. So both happened over here. And again we can say both of these happened by Arjuna's archery expertise. So now after this, now Karna wanted to enter the inner circle of Duryodhana. And yes, Duryodhana already included him to some extent in the inner circle. But once we get something, now getting friendship, sorry, am I audible to everyone? Behind? Getting Artha in terms of getting a position, getting a kingdom, getting entry into an elite circle. This is Artha, and that's important. He got it. Now after this, the Duryodhana Duryodhana had many evil plans. He wanted to destroy the Pandavas. And initially, Karna would tell Duryodhana, why do you want to make all these devious schemes? You just challenge the Pandavas for a fight and we will defeat them. We'll defeat them and you can have your kingdom. I will defeat Arjuna, you defeat Bhima, and we will get the kingdom. So now, something happened over here. Duryodhana is here. Now, Karna is here. And there's another person who was very influential in Duryodhana's life. Who was that? Shakuni. Yes. So see, what happened was, Dhritarashtra was a very weak father. And Shakuni became like a surrogate father figure for him. So he's not exactly a father, but he was older. And see, Duryodhana wanted Karna as a friend, but he felt Karna is new. What does he know about politics? Shakuni knows a lot. So when Shakuni told Karna that you are a child, you don't know anything, he said, better in a war there is no certainty of victory. So if you can get victory by other means, better to do that. So normally, if we give a suggestion to someone and that person doesn't listen to our suggestion and that person takes the opposite suggestion, then what happens is we feel hesitant to give any suggestions, because that rejection of the suggestion is not just the rejection of the suggestion. We are afraid, does this mean this person is going to reject me also? No. Say if we are doing some service and we give a suggestion, maybe we can do this program here like this. Maybe in Rath Yatra we are doing, maybe we can do like this. And what we suggest that is not done, the exact opposite is done. Then we not only start feeling hesitant to give suggestions, but you also start thinking, is this person displeased with me? I don't want this person to be displeased with me. So there was a bit of tension between Karna and Shakuni. And this tension came to a head in the gambling match. Now the gambling match was, from Duryodhana's perspective, spectacularly successful. It was horrendous what happened, but from his perspective, it was spectacularly successful. That the Pandavas lost all their kingdom, and then Pandavas lost all their kingdom. Duryodhana got all his dreams fulfilled. Now here, this is where things start going wrong for Karna. What happens is that he wants to please Duryodhana, because he wants to maintain his position as in the elite circle with Duryodhana. The Shakuni has done something for Duryodhana. Karna feels, I should also do something for Duryodhana. And then that's when he suggests that it is Karna who suggests that Draupadi is your maid servant now. Bring her into the assembly and we can dishonor her. So he is basically, what is he doing? He knows that Duryodhana feels dishonored by Draupadi. When Duryodhana fell down, slipped and fell, Draupadi was among the people who laughed at her. Now this is not mentioned in the Mahabharata, this is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Not in all versions of the Mahabharata. Now in some versions of the Mahabharata, it is said that Draupadi not only laughed at Duryodhana, she also mocked Duryodhana. It's Andhe ka beta andha. The blind person's son is blind. Now this is not there in the Mahabharata. This is more like a dramatic retelling, which is not a dramatic retelling, it is a traumatic retelling. It is a terrible retelling. See, Draupadi is not like Sita. Sita is a very mild-mannered, gentle person. Draupadi would get angry. But Draupadi was much more assertive, even aggressive. But still, Draupadi is a cultured person. She might get angry, but she's not a mean or cruel person. So if you look throughout the Mahabharata, we can see the character of a character. What is the nature of the person? So it's complete. She would not have spoken anything like that, and it's not mentioned in the Mahabharata also. But still, he did feel humiliated. So he said, now you can get back at her. So Karna also wanted to do something for Duryodhana. Now one problem with Anarthas. Now in this case, for Karna, wanting to please a friend is a good thing. Doing something for our friends is a good thing. But when friendship becomes the supreme value, that can also become an anartha. So, what do I mean by this? Say, if we have a friend who has helped us in the past, and that friend comes and says, I am in big financial trouble, I need some money. Can you please help me? You may say, okay, I'm not sure how much I can help you, but I will definitely try. How much money do you need? He says, no, I don't need any money from you. I have a plan to rob this bank. And I want you to assist me in this. He says, no, I can't do that. He says, what kind of friend are you that you are not ready to help me to do this? So now there are some questions that should not be answered. These are loaded questions. Rather than answering the question, we should be questioning the question. Not that what kind of friend are you that you are asking me to do this. The response is, what kind of friend are you that you are not ready to do this for me? The response to this should be, what kind of friend are you that you are asking me to do this? A real friend wouldn't ask a friend to do something like this. So what happens is, friendship is an artha. Friendship is an artha, but when it becomes the paramartha, what happens it leads to an anartha. So why did Karna want to be a friend of Duryodhan? Because although Karna was given the kingdom, he was not still accepted as a Kshatriya by everyone. So he wanted entrance in the inner circle of Kshatriyas. And it's not Duryodhan. If Duryodhan accepts me, Duryodhan recognizes me, then I will be recognized as a Kshatriya. But what is the essence of a Kshatriya? It is not just belonging to an elite club. The essence of a Kshatriya is Kshatrayate iti Kshatriya. One who protects others from hurt. So Karna should have been a person. If Duryodhan suggested doing something like this with Draupadi, Karna should have been the person to stop it. But Karna suggested this. So in trying to become a Kshatriya, he ended up defeating the values of a Kshatriya. He ended up losing the values of a Kshatriya. So this is the darkest moment in Karna's life in terms of the action that he does. See, in the Kuru assembly, where the Asat Sabha, where Draupadi is dishonored, that is a very dark place. If you consider the Asat Sabha, there nobody actually comes out in good light. Bhishma remains silent, that is bad. Dhritarashtra goes along with what is happening, that is bad. The Kauravas do horrible things. But even the Pandavas, what they do is not the right thing. Because the Pandavas also here end up choosing an Upadharma. See, the Pandavas, they have become dasas now. But there is the Dasya Dharma and there is a Pati Dharma. Yes, you may be maid servants or male servants and you have to obey your master. But does obeying your master mean that your master is doing something horrible to your wife and you stay silent? So now, of course, this is such an unprecedented situation, so unexpected, that everybody goes into a dharma sammoha over there. So if we consider everybody does adharma, if you consider this adharma, almost everybody does adharma over there. But the worst adharma is done there by Karna. Because this is not who he is. He is somebody who does the most terrible thing. And although this is the dishonorable situation, actually the person who acts most honorably is Draupadi. Although Draupadi is the most dishonored, she is the person who acts most honorably. She tries to remind everyone of dharma. She tries to prevent that adharma from happening. And ultimately, Krishna protects her. But here what happens? The artha of friendship leads to an anartha. Anartha of adharma for Duryodhana. So that's what I talk about. We need to select our desires. So the desire to be respected in an elite circle is important. But for respect, am I ready to give up my values? Am I ready to give up my morality itself? That is a serious question. And that question's answer, Karna gets wrong. So now, to his credit, Karna later regrets this. Twice, once to Bhishma on the 11th morning before the war starts after Bhishma has fallen, and to Krishna when Krishna comes as a Shanti Dut and meets Karna. At those situations, Karna says that I went too far at that time. In the assembly, the way I treated Draupadi, I wanted to please Duryodhan and I went too far. So basically, he has some regret. So about what happens, Karna has some regret. See, generally, whenever there is wrongdoing, if a person has done wrong, we discussed earlier, is that a reflection of their character or is that an exception from their character? So when after wrongdoing happens, so the question is, what post wrongdoing? Post means not post box, post means after. After wrongdoing, what do we do? Broadly, there are two things. There should be regret and there should be reform. Regret and reform. Regret means I did something wrong, I'm sorry about it, and I will not do it again. I make sure that I don't do it again. So if we consider with respect to Duryodhan, was there any regret? No, no regret at all. What about reform? No question of reform at all. Isn't it? Actually, Duryodhan had some regret. Duryodhan's regret was that he could not disrobe Draupadi actually. Not that I did not do, his regret was not that I did something wrong, that the wrong I did was not completed. That was his regret. It's a horrible thing. Now, if we consider Yudhishthir gambled. That was a terrible thing. Now, what happened was, for him, when he gambled, it was because he thought to maintain peace among the Kaurava and Pandava brothers, peace in our family, I should obey my elders. And that's why when Yudhishthira was called for gambling by Dhritarashtra through Vidura, so it was like a double whammy. Two elders are calling, he could not say no. So he decided, I'll obey. But then he recognized later that, if the elders are like this, then obeying them is leading to a terrible thing. So obedience is an artha. But if obedience becomes the supreme value at the cost of everything else, then that can also lead to anartha. Isn't it? Obedience is there, but obedience should be so that our character improves, so that we make good choices. So for Yudhishthir, was there, he regretted that he said, and was there reform? Did he ever gamble again? No. Interestingly, in the in the forest exile, Yudhishthir learned gambling. We say, gambling got you into so much trouble. Why are you practicing gambling again further? His point was that if again I am challenged to gamble, and if I am not able to refuse for some reason, then I should be ready. So there was a sage Rishaparva in the forest through whom he learned gambling, so that he was ready for it. But the point was that, yes, something in this case for Yudhishthir, obedience. Is obedience important? Of course it's important. But obedience cannot be the paramartha. If obedience becomes the paramartha, then it leads to blind following. So we have the example of Bali Maharaj refusing to follow Shukracharya. Obeying Shukracharya can be called his guru. It's more like he was his priest rather than he's not a spiritual master. He was more like a priest. But obedience is important. But obedience, we have tadvidhi pranipatena. Pranipatena is there, but also pariprashnena is there. Obedience should actually strengthen our intelligence, should help us to make good decisions. So now if we consider Karna is in between. For Karna, was there regret? Yes. But was there reform? No, unfortunately. And we'll discuss this as we move forward. So he regretted that action. He said, in pleasing Duryodhan, I did something terrible. But unfortunately, he kept trying to please Duryodhan after that also. So let's move forward to the final incident. But before we get to the final incident, let's go back to this life story. Here, now, after this, both the Kauravas were exiled and Karna was with Duryodhan. So Karna continued to try to please Duryodhan. And Duryodhan said, I want to perform the Rajasuya Yajna. Because the way Yudhishthira had been respected, he wanted to be respected. So the Brahmanas told, if the previous performer of the Rajasuya Yajna is alive, you cannot perform it right now. So Duryodhana's first thought was he need not be alive anymore. But then he realized I cannot kill Yudhishthir. Because if he kills Yudhishthir, Bhima and Arjuna will go mad and they will destroy him. So he didn't want that war. So then he said, I want to do the Rajasuya Yajna. So then the Brahmanas told him that there's another Yajna which is just as powerful, as glorious. It is called the Vaishnav Yajna. Now Duryodhana had no interest in Vishnu, but he performed the Vaishnav Yajna. So in the Bhagavad Gita 17th chapter, Krishna says, the 16th chapter, Yajante nama yajnaiste dambhena vidhi purvakam. Now if you read the 16th chapter, 16.11 to 17, if you read that in the context of the Mahabharata, it is clear that actually Krishna is referring to Duryodhana over there. Like sometimes in a class or in a discussion, there are some people who think like this, some people who do like this. No name is mentioned, but everybody knows who is being talked about. So, everything that Krishna talks about over there, that idamadhyamaya labdham imam prapse manoratham. This much money I have got, this much money more I got, I'll get now. Or this enemy I have killed, now that enemy I will kill after that. That's actually very much Duryodhana's mentality. So, when this particular verse, Krishna says, Yajante nama yajnaiste dambhena vidhi purvakam. This, you perform yajna, but the yajna is for Nam. So the demoniac people don't do Nama yajna, they do yajna for Nam. They don't chant the holy names, they do yajna for broadcasting their own name. So he performed the yajna and Karna helped him perform that. In fact, Karna went in the 4 directions and defeated various kings and he helped him perform the yajna. So now we could say, okay, this is an expression of his friendship. In the meanwhile, what was Arjuna doing? See, Karna knew that because of a situation, let's look at some more things. Let's look at some bad things that had happened. Now for Karna, one bad thing that happened was that he was cursed. Cursed by whom? Cursed by Parshuram. Sorry. Cursed by Parshuram. No, I got it, yes. He was cursed by... Okay. Oh God, the whole thing went there. I'll write it over here. Sorry. So he was cursed by Parshuram. That happened over here when he was learning archery. Now, if you consider, curse is a terrible thing. But Arjuna was also cursed. He was cursed by whom? Urvashi. That happened later. That happened in the final season of the Ajnatavas. So it is not by Parshuram, it is by Urvashi. So getting cursed is a bad thing, but it is not a unique thing that happened to him alone. So now Karna knew that because of that curse, I will forget the most important weapons that I have learned. See, now we can say curse is a terrible thing and why should he have been cursed? See, there are two different things over here. Parshuram and Karna became very close to each other. When he had to get admission he had to get to teach to learn that, he lied that I am a Brahmana. Now, you see, sometimes we may lie and we may lie for a good purpose. He said, I only want to learn archery, and at that time there is no indication that he wanted to use the archery for Duryodhan's service or any bad purpose. So when the two came close to each other, at that time, sometime or the other, he should have revealed to Duryodhan. He should have revealed to Parshuram that actually I spoke this lie. See, what happens is, lying is bad. But lying and continuing the lie till we are exposed, that is far more painful for the other person than if you have lied, confess the lie on your own. So when Parshuram cursed him, Parshuram's curse could have been far worse also. So you will forget, you learn this under false pretenses, you will forget all the knowledge you have. Parshuram did not give him that curse. He cursed him that at your most critical moment, you will forget the most important weapons that I have given you. This is a bad curse. But Karna knew this was there. So Karna could have prepared for it. Karna could have acquired more celestial weapons. Karna could have learned some more archery skills. So now if you see in the forest, what happened was Arjuna did tapasya. Arjuna did tapasya to get more weapons, to get Divya Astra. So we could say from today's perspective, Arjuna was continuously learning and improving his archery. So Karna was using his archery skills for pleasing Duryodhan, but he did not get any further celestial weapons. Now, yes, he did get one celestial weapon, which was that? The Shakti Astra. Now, Karna is sometimes considered a very Danveer. And yes, he was charitable, but there is no indication that he was extraordinarily charitable apart from how all Kshatriyas were charitable. So now there are some stories we are told about Karna which are not mentioned in the Mahabharata. They are like later additions. Now this particular incident where he gave his Kavach and Kundal to Indra. Now that is considered, it's a great sacrifice. But interestingly, Surya had come before. And then Surya had come and warned him that Indra will come to you in a Brahmana's garb and ask for this, don't give it to him. So Karna wanted to preserve his reputation that I am a very charitable person. And that's why he did give that Astra in charity. But he knew after he gives something like that, Indra is a Devta, and even he can hide it from Manavas, but other Devtas will know. And the idea is that if a Devta is given something, the Devta has to give something back. So he knew that Indra will give me something back. And so he had a plan ready. He asked for the Shakti Astra. Now, if you consider that particular incident, we may call it positive that he gave his Kavach. But is it, sorry, it is here, correct? No, it is not over here. And let's put the timing aside. It is that Kavach when he gave, that is, he gave the Kavach, but he got something in return. What did he get in return? He got the Shakti Astra. So he gave the Kavach and he got the Shakti Astra. So we have to consider he gave and he got. So now the Kavach made him undefeatable or invincible. He would not die because of the Kavach. But the Kavach did not guarantee victory for him. And for him, the point was not just to live. The point was, I want to prove I am better than Arjuna. So in one sense, he lost something, he gained something. So was this really charity? Actually, if you give something and gain something, it's not charity, it's an actually exchange. Isn't it? It's a swap. It's you lose something, you gain something. And relatively speaking, for him, what he got was more valuable. So it was a profitable exchange for him. So the thing is, Karna and Arjuna, they continued on in their life trajectory. Now, the key incident in their life, we will come. So, both of them got some extra weapons, and with that they moved on now. Arjuna worked hard, did a lot of tapasya, and got a lot of weapons. So, what really sealed his fate? Till this point, things were going on. But then, the bad thing that he did. So, what is did can be good, what is did can be bad. So, what he had done bad over here was that he insulted Draupadi. That was one bad thing. But the big bad thing that was it, he rejected Krishna's proposal. So let's look at this and why this was so bad. That is, when Krishna came as a peace messenger. So at that time, Krishna's first plan was to try to avoid the war. But when Duryodhan rejected Krishna's peace proposal, and Duryodhan sent a message to Karna, I want to meet you. And the next morning, before Krishna was about to leave, Krishna and Karna met. And Krishna told Karna, you are actually the son of Kunti. And come over to the side of the Pandavas. And you will be accepted as the leader of the Pandavas. And all the Pandavas, including Arjuna, will follow you the way Indra is followed by all the Devatas. So now, at this particular point, see, Karna is being given everything that he wanted. He wanted belonging to an elite group. He will belong to the Pandavas by his birth itself. He also wanted to be respected as a Kshatriya. If you are born as a Kshatriya, and okay, he was born before the marriage, that is true. But then he's Surya Putra. That will give him all the respect that he wants. So everything that he wanted, Krishna was giving him. And Krishna was giving him a bigger kingdom than what Duryodhana had given him. So forget the fact that Krishna is God and we should surrender to God. Even from a material perspective, Krishna's proposal was a very reasonable proposal. But Karna rejected that proposal. And this is where Anartha comes in. Like when Artha becomes a Paramartha, it becomes Anartha. So if we consider Krishna's proposal to Karna, there are three factors which make it attractive. First is that he gets a sense of belonging. Belonging to an elite circle, belonging by birth itself. Not just by somebody else's mercy. Second is that he also gets a huge kingdom, far bigger than anyone else. And thirdly, he gets to be on the side of virtue. So now, when Karna says no, he gives two reasons for that. The first reason he says is that my birth mother abandoned me and I was raised by my adoptive family. Now, just because I have got the opportunity for a kingdom, I am not going to reject my adoptive family. The mother and the father who I have built a life over here. I have wives, I have children. I will not give them up. So, one he says is his adoptive family. Now, this, is it really a valid reason? No, Krishna himself had an adoptive family. Isn't it? So, Krishna was not abandoned, but Krishna was left by his parents because for his own safety. And Krishna lived in Vrindavan. So, when he left Vrindavan, yes, it was distressful because he was no longer in Vrindavan. But he was not rejecting his Vrindavan parents. Isn't it? It was, he still loved them, he still cared for them. And they were also happy that Krishna has become a king now. They were unhappy that Krishna is not with us. But it's not a rejection of his birth, of the parents who took care of him. So did Karna, if Karna's parents had come to know that this child whom they had adopted was actually Surya Putra, was actually Kunti Putra, would they have been unhappy? Unlikely. Yeah, we took care of you. And was Krishna telling him, you have to disconnect yourself with your adoptive family completely? No, they could have also lived in royalty. So this is not a very valid reason. The second reason he gives is that Duryodhan is counting on me. He said that I I told Duryodhana that I'll be always his friend. And it is based on his faith in me that he has actually agreed to, has triggered this war. In his moment of need, if I abandon him now, then I will be a betrayer of my friend. Now, interestingly, in that same narrative, Karna tells Krishna that I have had a dream. And my dream, I saw that Yudhishthir dressed in white on a chariot with beautiful steeds, beautiful horses, is rising upwards. And Duryodhan dressed in black with shaven head on a cart drawn by mules, by donkeys, is being dragged downwards. So he says, I understand by this dream that it's an omen. It's describing what's going to happen in the future. He says Yudhishthira is going to be victorious. Duryodhana will be killed by Bhima and I will be killed by Arjuna. But, he says, even if I have to die, I will not give up my friend. So Krishna embraces Karna and says, it does not speak this, but the idea is Vinasha Kale Viparita Buddhi. So now, okay, if you know your friend is going to die, so what is friendship over there? Should you go with your friend to death at that time? Well, maybe, but on the other hand, if you consider, if Karna had come over to the side of the Pandavas, Duryodhana would have been shocked, Duryodhana would have been enraged. But it is quite possible that Duryodhana's confidence that he could win would have decreased. And Duryodhana may have called off the war. Duryodhana could have lived. Or maybe after Bhishma fell, there's a question, why did Bhishma stay on the side of the Pandava, of the Kauravas for so long? So if you read the Mahabharata story, Bhishma till the last moment keeps having the hope that Duryodhana will change. And repeatedly Bhishma tells Duryodhana about Krishna's glory, about the Pandavas' virtue. And Duryodhana sometimes, most of the time doesn't listen, sometimes listens, but doesn't act on it. But Bhishma keeps having that hope. And on the 10th evening when Bhishma falls, and he's lying on that arrow bed, everybody stops fighting and everybody comes around Bhishma. And even Duryodhana is crying. This is his grandfather. And he loved him. And that Bhishma, even if they had differences of opinion, Bhishma also loved him. So seeing the tears of Duryodhana, Bhishma, the first words when he has fallen, what does he say? Oh child, oh son, I have always been undefeatable. Even Parshuram could not defeat me. But I who have been undefeatable has now been defeated. Oh Duryodhana, understand that the Kaurav Pandavas cannot be defeated when Krishna is with them. Please let my fall be the end of the hostilities. Now, although Duryodhana had some tears, but he did not change his mind. But when Bhishma had fallen, and if he did not have Karna, it is quite likely that he might have agreed. So, friendship does not always mean doing whatever the other person wants us to do. Sometimes being a true friend means doing something that the other person does not like. Doing something that the other person may hate us for doing. But we do it because it is good for them. So, when we talk about his argument, there is friendship. Now, friendship can be attachment or it can be affection. Now, the difference between attachment and affection. When there is affection, we don't like to say no. If somebody asks us something, say a friend asks us, can you come for this? I have this event and I'm planning this. Can you come for this? That person is a close friend. We don't like to say no. If a child asks us, I want this toy. As parents, we don't like to say no. Now, if we like to say no to someone, then there's no affection over there. Isn't it? We get pleasure in saying no. So affection means we don't like to say no. But attachment means we can't say no. And that is a big difference between the two. That I can never say no to you. Sometimes in romantic movies that's presented as a sign of great love. I can never say no to you. But that is not love. That can be infatuation. That can be blind attachment. So Karna's friendship with Duryodhana, was it attachment or was it affection? Attachment. And this is where Artha became the Paramartha for him. And that is where it is his rejection of Krishna that caused his ruin. Karna, he was a good person who did bad things. But it was not simply situations that made him do bad things. Yeah, it is he acting the way he acted in the Asat Sabha when he had Draupadi dishonored. That could be said due to circumstances. The circumstances were so unprecedented. He did something terrible, but that could be circumstantial. But his choosing to stay on with Duryodhan, even rejecting Krishna's very reasonable and attractive proposal, that did good neither to him nor to Duryodhan. So attachment means what happens is that we get pulled down and the other person is also pulled. Other person is going down and we are also pulled down. So that is a terrible thing. So Karna was doomed by his decision. And so the last point I'll make is, when finally the final fight, Arjuna killed Karna unfairly. So was that injustice to him? Well, depends. See, whenever we see any incident, like if some incident has happened, now we can look at it in context. Say, in the morning I was giving this example that if I am polite with you and you are being very cold with me, I may say you are a terrible person. And that's one explanation. But it could be that I was very cruel and mean to you in the past. And that's why you are being cold to me. So your coldness in the immediate context, it may seem it's wrong. But if you look at the bigger context, it may be right. You have to say, is my politeness just an act or have I actually changed? Isn't it? So the same incident can be seen in many contexts. In a smaller context, in a bigger context. So Arjuna kills Karna. So no, this is not Karna, not Krishna. So now this is unfair. The immediate context, it is definitely unfair. But if we look at it in two contexts, in the context of the war and in the context of life at large. So if you see, what happens is, in the war itself, there are, on that very day, in the 17th day of the war, Karna is killed. So on that very day, before that, there is a Sarpastra, that comes into the Sarpastra. He says that, does anyone know his name, that warrior's name? Ashwasena? Sorry? No, anyway, the Sarpastra is there. So, Karna uses the Sarpastra, and Arjuna, when he sees the Sarpastra coming, Arjuna thinks my kavach will take care of it. So when normally arrows are shot by one warrior to another warrior, there are three strategies. One is you counter the arrow, the other you tolerate the arrow, third is you dodge the arrow. Now dodging is normally done by the chariot. The charioteer moves the chariot aside. So now sometimes the two arrows, you might have seen Rama and Mahabharata, two arrows collide with each other. So now in this case, Arjuna sees the arrow coming, he says, let the arrow hit me, my arrows will hit Karna. He does not recognize how dangerous the arrow is. Now Krishna recognizes, and therefore Krishna bangs down the chariot entirely. And when he bangs, he puts his foot heavily on the chariot, Arjuna's chariot goes into the ground. And when Arjuna's chariot goes into the ground, so that arrow which Karna had targeted to Arjuna's neck, that goes and hits Arjuna's crown. Arjuna's crown is knocked off, but Arjuna survives. And now at this point, Arjuna's chariot has gone under the ground. So Arjuna has to jump out of the chariot and has to lift up the chariot. So Arjuna doesn't tell Karna, Karna, stop here now. So not only that, if you see, Karna has himself been a part of the 6 warriors who have attacked Arjuna's son Abhimanyu. And eventually Abhimanyu was chariotless, and still all these warriors were attacking him. So what Arjuna does to Karna has done to Arjuna, and Karna has also done to Arjuna's son Abhimanyu. So yes, it is a bad thing, but you yourself had done the bad thing before. So it is not that it's something which has never happened before. That's what Krishna tells Arjuna when Karna says, Karna says to Arjuna, don't entertain thoughts entertained by cowards. Wait till I am ready to fight. Remember the codes of morality. So Krishna says to Karna, oh, it is fortunate that you remember the codes of morality today. Was it with the codes of morality that you ganged up with 5 other warriors to kill Abhimanyu? Was it with the codes of morality that you suggested that Draupadi be disrobed? Was it with the codes of morality that you defrauded the Pandavas of their kingdom? Krishna lists all the wrongs that Karna has been a part of, or Karna has himself done. And then finally Krishna concludes, today it is that same morality that Arjuna will kill you. So is it unfair? Yes, in the context it is unfair. But in the bigger context, it is no worse than what has been done. So basically, Karna is killed not by deceit. Karna is killed by the same strategy that he has used. And when Karna does bad things, why does he do bad things? Because he makes an Artha into a Paramartha. So for all of us, the concluding lesson from all this is that we are trying to do service to Krishna. We may want wealth. We may want to do some service. I want to get a big donation for Krishna. I want to be a big preacher so that I can have many devotees can be offered to my spiritual master and Krishna. Oh, I want to do a lot of distribution of books. All these are Artha. But if this becomes the most important thing for us, so in order to, I want to build a big temple for Krishna. But in building a big temple, I start disregarding and disrespecting all other devotees. Then what is happening is, when the Artha becomes Paramartha, then there will be Anartha. Anartha will be, I may offend other devotees. I may hurt other devotees. So wanting to do service is important. So I had described this in last time when I had come. When we want to do service to Krishna, when we want to seva, we want to do some offering. So what is it that we want to offer? We want to offer the world to Krishna. World means that we want to offer things from the world to Krishna. But we also want to offer our heart to Krishna. If we consider 4 quadrants, which is the most important thing? Which is the best quadrant to be in? Both the world and the heart. Like the world is being offered, world is offered and is not offered. That means we are not able to do any big service in the world. The heart is offered and the heart is not offered. So the best would be where the world is offered and the heart is also offered. That means we are able to do something wonderful for Krishna, but while doing something wonderful for Krishna, we are also able to, our heart goes closer to Krishna. Now sometimes what may happen is, the world is offered, but the heart is not offered. Then this is questionable. Now this is the worst we can say. The heart not offered, heart offered, world not offered, that is good. We have the stories of like a small squirrel doing some service, Shabari offering some fruits. Now we would like to do something wonderful for Krishna, but sometimes what happens, we get so caught in trying to do something big for Krishna that we are offering the world to Krishna, but our heart is going away from Krishna. Now from here, if we go here, this is good. As first I want to offer a world. I want to give a big donation and I want my name to be there on number 1. I give a big donation. But then, okay, by that gradually you develop attraction toward Krishna, and okay, whether my name is given or not, actually I want to love Krishna. But when the world being offered becomes so important for us that we don't even worry about the heart being offered, our heart becomes more and more bitter. That is when we may start going from here to here. So when devotees sometimes suddenly fall down, devotees seem to be in very good situation, they're nice sadhana they're doing, nice seva they're doing, and they fall down. What is happening is, quite often, yes, they were doing all the externals, but they're too focused on offering the world to Krishna. And while offering the world to Krishna, sometimes they become offensive to those who are not helping them, not supporting them, and that aparad leads to a fall. So while we want to offer the world to Krishna, it's both are important, but offering the heart to Krishna is much more important. That means if I am trying to do some service and others are not helping me in that service, others are obstructing me in that service, okay, if I start becoming very bitter towards other people, then that is a red sign. I'm trying to offer the world to Krishna, but my heart is filled with bitterness toward devotees. Then what is happening? I may offer the world to Krishna, but I am making my heart unofferable to Krishna. So that should not happen. If our heart keeps going further and further away from Krishna, then we end up falling down. So seva is important. It's artha. But the seva should be offered to Krishna. The seva itself, this particular project should not become the paramartha. If it becomes the paramartha, then it can become a problem. So projects are important, but project is not the paramartha. Krishna is the paramartha. If the project becomes the paramartha, then what happens? There will be anartha. So by regularly hearing and associating with devotees and doing sadhana, we can ensure that Krishna remains the paramartha for us. And whatever artha we are able to offer to Krishna, Krishna will be satisfied with that. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. Broadly, 3 points we discussed. We started by discussing about this whole concept of why do good people do bad things. So that was the question we were discussing today. And the principle we discussed is that there is buddhi. Buddhi, what does it do? Buddhi tells us what are big things in our life and what are small things. And when we talk about desires, the desires need to be selected and directed towards Krishna. So with the desire management, it discussed about if it's too much, that is bad, that will lead to addiction. If desire is too little, that will lead to depression, because nothing will seem to be of value for us. So not destruction, so depression. So what we want is in between the two of these. Desire needs to be selected and directed. So that is the theme we discussed, that about selected and directed. So about selecting desires, I discussed how our desires are, we have too many desires. Nobody can fulfill all their desires. So there may be some good things also you may desire. But if the artha becomes the paramartha, then what happens? It leads to anartha. So money becomes the artha, which is the paramartha, then it becomes greed. Like that, respect, it will become ego. Control will become anger. So we discussed Karna's story elaborately. So for Karna, what happened was friendship of Duryodhan became the paramartha. And that led him to the anartha. Anartha of doing adharma, and first he did adharma and he eventually went against Krishna, both. So I went elaborately. I won't go into repeating the whole story. See, when he was ruined, Anartha was, he gave up dharma. He gave up dharma and he gave up, even he had never had any bhakti, but he gave up dharma and he gave up, rejected Krishna also. So he's giving up dharma. So the bad things that he did, there were his, say, the two major bad things he did was during the Draupadi's Sabha, he has with respect to Draupadi, that could be said to be circumstantial. But eventually, he rejected Krishna's proposal, and that was not circumstantial. That was intentional. And that was what ruined him ultimately. So now, when we talk about directing our desires, we discussed about how people may do wrong things. Wrongdoing may happen, but post wrongdoing is what? What do you after wrongdoing? Is there regret? And is there reform? So we discussed the example of Duryodhan. There was neither regret nor reform. With respect to Karna, there was regret but no reform. Yudhishthir, there was regret and there was reform. So the idea is that for Karna, his relationship with Duryodhan was not was friendship. It was not affection, but it was attachment. And for us, when we directed desire, means whether directed towards, we should be able to turn towards Krishna. So lastly, we discussed this diagram of when we are offering. So offering the world to Krishna is one desire. Offering the heart to Krishna is another desire. So our desires need to be directed towards Krishna. This is the best. This is the worst. Now this is good. This depends. If it goes upwards, then it is good. If it goes downwards, then it is bad. So for many of us as sadhakas, as devotees, practicing devotees, often we are in this category. And from here, as practicing devotees, if we get too caught in trying to offer big things to Krishna and we are not able to do this, we'll become bitter. And if we go in this direction, this is where fall can happen. So we want to offer the heart to Krishna, but we want to that our service, our project, any project it may be, project should not become the paramartha. If that happens, then even in bhakti, there will be anartha. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful class. Especially, Artha should not become a Paramartha for any devotee. Then it leads to a Anartha. So this can be our take-home point. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We would like to express our gratitude to Prabhuji by loudly chanting Hare Krishna Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yeah, okay. So, I told about this book, Prayers Inspired by Bhagavad Gita. So there is 122 prayers over here, and there is a very accessible table of contents where you can, the spiritual affirmation that is there at the start of each prayer is given. So there are prayers for various daily occasions and challenges we may face. Prayers when we are feeling lonely or misunderstood. Prayers when we are feeling lost and directionless in life. Prayers when we are feeling our desires going wild and uncontrollable. Prayers when we are feeling very dry in our bhakti and feeling as if Krishna is very far away. So many devotees have told me this helps them in their chanting. Read one prayer and then it can make our mind calm and centered. And apart from that, there are a few other books. This is Gita for the CEO. This is the Gita explained in a practical applicational way. So there are some simple diagrams explaining the concepts like I was drawing here. And it's presented in the form of a conversation. So how to be resilient when life knocks us down, how to make the power of our speech more effective, because leadership is about how to make our speech more persuasive, how to not lose heart when people misunderstand us, how to understand our own nature and our own calling in life. So those things are explained. And this is a book with 365 quotes inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. So those who are not humble will be humbled. So those who can't face books take shelter in Facebook. So each of these quotes is inspired by one verse from the Bhagavad Gita. So it's an easy way to have something to contemplate on. So if any of you want, this is available behind. I'll be here. So I'll be here in case you want to get the book signed or if you have any further questions. Thank you.
And two books are missing. Those who have taken the books, kindly return it. Two books are missing. Kindly return them.